Hey guys, today I'm going to be ranking all of the traps that the piggies are given in Roblox Piggy. Basically how this is going to work is I'm going to be ranking every trap. Even if I don't have it, I'm still going to rank it. But alternate trap skins won't count since they're literally just the same trap but with a different design. So it just depends whether I like the design or not, which won't really matter that much in this video, since I'm really going to pay more attention to whether the trap is useful or not. And I'm not going to be doing a worst to best this time. I'm actually going to be doing a tier list. Why? Because it's just easier. And usually after the videos, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I kind of disagree with this. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's finally get started. The first trap we're going to review today is the default trap, which is literally the OG trap. It came before literally every trap. And I'd say it's actually a pretty good trap. I actually used it in all of my videos before I could get the inflatable trap, and it's actually pretty good. Stuns you for 4.5 seconds when you step in it. It costs 4 energy to place one of these traps, and when you step in it, it stuns you for 4.5 seconds, which is a pretty good amount of time to kill the player. But one mistake I see new players always do is place this trap in doorways. This trap is really easy to juke. I mean, like, if you know how to juke it, you could do it every time with no problem. Before they patched being able to jump and place a trap, and the trap would be mid-air, this trap was actually really OP and pretty hard to juke too. But when they nerfed it, this trap kinda just became pretty bad. But this trap is pretty good for stairs. For example, if you place it on the house stairs, it will be pretty hard to juke. You can juke it, but it's not really that easy to juke. So overall, I'd say this trap is pretty good. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10, and this will go in low A tier. But anyways, on to the next one. Next up is the small trap. And you know how they say the bigger the better? Well, that goes for piggy traps too, because this trap is pretty bad. This trap is really small, like really small. And it costs 4 energy, the same amount for a default trap. And it stuns the player for 5 seconds instead of 4.5. So it's like, oh my god, you get an extra bit of seconds. Yeah, but it's not really that good. And yet again, this is an even easier trap to juke. I mean, like, you don't even have to try that hard to juke it. The only reason why you should ever step in this trap is if you just didn't see coming, which, like, you should have been looking. So, yeah, overall, a pretty bad trap. I don't think I've ever seen someone unironically use this in a public server. I mean, it's really bad. This trap gets a 2.5 out of 10, and this trap is going in D tier. Next up is the big trap, which is literally just the default trap, but bigger, which is literally just what the name suggests. This stuns you for 4 seconds instead of 4.5, so you, instead of getting more half of a second, you get less half of a second. And it costs 8 energy to use, which is twice as much as the default trap. This trap is really good for doorways. I gave my friend 5 chances to juke this trap, and just watch him try. So as you just saw, my friend couldn't juke the trap any of those times. I even gave them access to be able to use the sprint ability, but even with that, they still couldn't juke it, which just goes to show how hard of a trap this is to juke. So overall, this is a pretty good trap, just not something I would use. This gets a 7 out of 10, and this is going in B tier. On to the next one. Next up is the slow trap. We're finally out of the traps that are literally just a different size. Anyways, instead of this trap stunning you, it just slows you down for a couple of seconds. This is the cheapest trap to ever exist in Piggy, only costing 3 energy. which means you can spam it around a lot more than other traps. This trap is the same size as the default trap, so it's still really easy to juke. There is an easy way to escape this trap, however. If you use the sprint ability, then you can easily escape the piggy if you're far away from them and they're catching up. But this trap takes too long, so if they're right behind you, you're still gonna get slowed down and they're still probably gonna get you. So overall, this trap is just okay, I guess. This trap is getting a 5 out of 10 and this is going in C tier. Next up is the egg trap. And yeah, this might be the worst trap in the entirety of Piggy. This trap costs 4 energy, and when you step on it, it slows you down and it puts an egg on your screen. This is what the trap does from a player point of view. As you can see, an egg is on my screen, so like, oh, I can't see the piggy. But like, it doesn't actually do much. Thought this trap was bad enough? Well, this trap is really small. So let me guess, the trap is really easy to juke. Oh yeah, the trap is really easy to juke. I just watched them juke it because the trap is easy to juke. So yeah, this trap sucks. This gets a 1 out of 10 and this is going in F tier. Now let's go to the next one. Next up is the alarm trap, which is yet another reskin of the default trap. But when you step on it, it actually puts an alarm symbol over your head. So it's like, oh my god, I know where they are. That's really cool. But there's 2 problems with this trap. One, if you're really far away from the trap, it will take too long to actually get to the trap, so it won't actually do anything. And 2, if you're like me, you have ears. So you can just listen when you use the default trap to know where they stepped on the trap. Not to mention, this trap costs 2 more energy than the default trap, which is kind of a scam because, like, it's not even that good. So overall, this trap gets a 6.5 out of 10, and this trap is going in C tier. On to the next one. Next up is the black hole trap, which this is a pretty small trap. It's just as small as the small trap. It costs 8 energy and it stuns you for 4 seconds. Doesn't really seem like a good trap, right? This just seems like the recolored version of the small trap. But it's not. This trap actually pulls you towards it. When you jump, you get pulled towards it, which this is very useful for many things. For example, if somebody's trying to juke you, you can just place a black hole trap and they will get sucked right into their death. And you can also get people stuck like this, where they can't move because the black hole trap keeps pulling them back. And also a little tip, this trap works best for small avatars or women avatars, or in this case, Robbie build mode survivor. But more big, blocky R6 avatars won't get sucked in as much and it will be a lot easier to escape. But even with all of that, this is still one of the best traps to ever exist in Piggy. This trap is getting the first S tier of the video, and this also gets our first 10 out of 10. On to the next one. Next up is the teleportation trap. And you might be like, teleportation trap? What's a teleportation trap? And honestly, I don't blame you, because I have not seen a single soul use this trap from 2024 to 2026. Anyways, this trap costs 5 energy, and this trap has nothing to do with the player. Doesn't stun, doesn't slow down, nothing. Because what this trap does is if you place 2 of them in 2 different places, then you step on one of them, it teleports you to the other trap, which seems pretty cool in theory. But the teleporting process takes way too long to actually be useful, unlike the warp ability, which teleports you instantly. But anyways, if you place 3 of these traps, then it will delete the first one you've ever placed, but it will keep the second one you've placed. Anyways, if you teleport while somebody else is on the other teleporter trap, then it will kill them instantly, which is pretty good, but it's still not that great. I don't really have anything else to say about this trap. This trap is getting a 3 out of 10. This trap goes in D tier. Next up is the mouse trap. This trap costs 7 energy, and instead of stunning the player, it actually just goes around and finds all of the players' locations and snitches on them. And while this trap is useful against people who literally just hide the entire round, this trap still isn't really that good. The reason why is just because there's another trap that does it way better, which will come up later. I'd say the only really positive thing about this trap is how fast it is, so it can get to the people really quickly. But that's really it. Besides, if you're playing against somebody who's experienced, then when they hear the mouse trap, they're gonna be like, oh, the piggy's gonna know where I am. I have to lock in now. But even though it sounds like I'm being very negative towards this trap, this is actually a pretty good trap. There's just a trap that's a way better version of this. But this trap is going in B tier, and this gets a 7 out of 10. On to the next trap. Next up is the Mr. Bliss trap, or the snowman trap. It really doesn't matter, they're the same thing. Anyways, this trap costs 9 energy, and what it does is it places down a Mr. Bliss or a snowman, and what it does is when the player walks near it, the trap stabs them or throws a snowball at them, and it slows them down for a couple of seconds. But this trap is more for like tight spaces because this trap doesn't really have the best range. One good example is placing them on the stairs, like on the stairs in the house map, because it will be like impossible to avoid. But there is one easy way to counter this trap. If you get hit by it, just use the sprint ability to get away from Piggy, because the sprint ability lasts just as long as the slowing effects, so you will easily be able to get away anyway. Not to mention, this trap is only limited to the 2020 Winter Holiday Hunt and the 2024 Paranormal Pigmas season. And there's also just a way better version of this trap anyway, so there's no good reason to even use this trap. But even though I'm mostly saying negative things about this trap, this is actually a pretty good trap. I'm gonna give this trap an 8.5 out of 10, and this trap is going in A tier. Let's go to the next one. Next up is the Tombstone trap, which is actually the only trap in Piggy that I don't have if we don't include alternate trap skins. Anyways, it costs 10 energy to place one, which you can't see because this is an old video. Anyways, what happens is a zombie piggy rises up out of the ground when the player steps on the trap, or just goes near it, and a zombie piggy spawns and tries to chase them and kill them. And then when it kills the player, it goes back into the ground. Now this trap would be actually really good if it weren't for two things. One, why in the world does this trap cost 10 energy? I know this is the only trap in Piggy that can kill you, but still, why 10 energy? That's the most energy a trap can cost. And secondly, why did they make the zombie piggy so slow? Like it's just as slow as the crawling trap, and it despawns after a few seconds too. So this trap is literally just useless, because if you're good, then you can just run away from it, and it will just go away. Oh yeah, and did I forget to mention, this was part of the 2020 Halloween hunt, which means it never came back, just like Mr. Stitchy and Owl. So yeah, overall, this isn't a great trap. I would much rather use the crawling trap because it's a way better version of this trap. This trap is getting a 3 out of 10, and this trap is going in D tier. On to the next one. Next up is the inflatable trap, which this trap comes back every year for Piggy's anniversary. First, second, third, fourth, so on. Anyways, this trap costs 5 energy, and this trap stuns you for 4 seconds whenever you step on it. Also, not to mention, this trap literally has the biggest hitbox ever, which I didn't get footage for, which, just like the default trap, actually works pretty well on stairs. But I am afraid the negatives weigh out the positives in this trap, because this trap is actually broken. If you want to get past this trap every single time, all you have to do is just spam jump on the trap. That's literally it. And I'm not lying. like, try this. Actually try this, and you're gonna be surprised to find out that this actually works. Thought this trap could get any worse? Well, the people who made this trap decided, I'm gonna make it so that the balloon that inflates up actually has a hitbox. Which means if the player inflated the trap on the other side of the door, you can't get to them because of the balloon that blocks the doorway, and then they can easily escape if they juke you. So overall, this trap isn't the best. So even with all of the negative stuff, I'm gonna give this trap an 8 out of 10, and this trap is going in A tier. On to the next one. Next up is the crawling trap, which I actually forgot to do this segment, so I had to go back in and edit this. Anyways, you can't actually buy this in the shop. You actually need to do a quest, which never goes away. Anyways, this trap costs 9 energy, and when you place it, it hunts for the player to go catch them. Then when it catches the player, it brings it back to you for you to kill the player. Which this is basically just the better version of the mouse trap, since it actually brings you the players. But one downside is that it is really slow, so it takes a lot longer to actually get to the players than the mouse trap. But they last a lot longer than the mouse trap. The mouse trap lasts for only a minute, I think. But the crawling trap lasts enough time where you can place 3 of them and they're all there at the same time. And the crawling trap can go through vent spaces, which I don't have footage for. And not to mention that this trap also has the biggest hitbox ever, which that's not really the best example, but that's fine. With this many positives to a trap, it really seems like there can't be any negatives. Hey, so did it just grab that decoy? Sadly, crawling traps get fooled by decoys and disarms, just like Piggy bots. Which, if you're going against someone who mains either of those, this trap just becomes useless. And if somebody's in the vent and they have a decoy or a disarm, they could just always avoid the trap by placing it. They should have made it like a 50-50 chance, where it has a 50% chance to grab the decoy and it has a 50% chance to ignore it. But nope, they'll always go for the decoy, which just makes everything worse. But even with that huge negative about this trap, this is still one of the best traps in the game. This trap still gets a 10 out of 10, and this trap still goes in S tier. Next up is the Concoction trap. This trap was part of the 2024 Mr. P plushie campaign, but correct me if I'm wrong, you can still buy this in the shop. Anyways, this trap costs 8 energy, and when you step on it as the player, your controls get inverted for a few seconds. This is what the trap looks like from my alt's point of view, and as you can see, when I step on the trap, my joystick is moving forward, but my character is moving backwards, which if somebody knows nothing about this trap, then it's probably gonna throw them off and kill them. But if somebody actually knows what this trap does, then they could be like, oh, there's a concoction trap, I have to move backwards now. One thing about this trap though, is that when you step on it, your controls get inverted. But there's no warning about when your controls become normal again. So that could end up throwing you off and make you go backwards and then you die. And another thing about this trap is that this trap is really big. So it's actually really hard to juke. I gave my friend here 3 chances to juke this trap and just watch. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that this is a pretty hard trap to juke. So yeah, overall, this trap is just okay. This trap is getting a 6 out of 10, and this trap is going in C tier. Next up is the slippery trap. This trap was part of the advent calendar, and it was rewarded on day 17. Anyways, this trap costs 7 energy, and what this trap does is it makes you slippery. Or that's what it's supposed to do. Because apparently, whenever I step on it, my screen just gets filled with ice, but I don't become slippery. Which is weird because this once did actually work, but it just doesn't anymore. I even tried to have my friend step on it 5 times to see if there would be any visual difference from Piggy's point of view once. Just watch. So yeah, out of the 5 times I tried to get people to become slippery, they never became slippery. Oh, did I forget to mention this trap costs 7 energy? Yeah, this trap sucks. This gets a negative 10 out of 10 and this is going in Z tier. Hopefully the next one is better. Last up is the Love Struck trap. This trap is a limited time quest trap which you can get by doing the Hungry Gray skin quest. Anyways, this trap costs 7 energy. Well, in the shop it says 6 energy. Anyways, when you place it places down the stone statue thingy. And when a player walks near it, the statue shoots them and slows the player down for 7 seconds. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention? This trap has a player point of view. Just watch. The trap makes your screen start spinning, turns purple, and you get slowed down for 7 seconds. You're probably thinking, why do you sound mad about that? That's a good thing because it makes it super easy to win. And yes, that's exactly why. Because I feel like if I use this trap too much, then I'm just never gonna lose because this trap is way too OP, and then just winning's not gonna be a challenge anymore, which just ruins the fun of the game. Okay, well, I'm just gonna keep saying stuff about this trap. This trap has a way longer range than the Mr. Bliss trap, which is kind of like the other version of this trap. But the best place to use this trap is if somebody's juking you. Then you just place this trap and easy kill. So yeah, overall, this is one of the best traps in the game. This trap gets a 10 out of 10 and this trap goes in S tier. So, here are my top 3 favorite traps. Drumroll please. At 3rd place, we have the crawling trap. At 2nd place, we have the Love Struck trap. At 1st place is the black hole trap. If you're listening to this, then that means you've finished the video. Thank you all for watching to the end of the video. I hope you all have a great day. Subscribe for more videos like this. Bye.